Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That's public access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. We've got a very special guest here with us today, Phil Haddy, the longtime sports information director at the University of Iowa Athletic Department, has agreed to join us. Welcome back, Phil. Glad
Always
to have
good
you.
to be here.
Well,
Always good.
Bud Supple's back, and Earl the Pearl Murphy. He's always here. It's his show. Why wouldn't he be? And we shouldn't forget, Joe Murphy, Earl's son, is behind the camera, behind the lights, making this all happen every week. It's a bit of work on Joe's part, to say the least, and we're happy to have you here. Sports Opinion is on every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18, and then again on Sunday nights we repeat the show at 6 p.m. on Channel 18. You can also go to my Facebook page, and we'll always have it there, or you can go to patv.tv, and all of our shows are archived there at the public access television website. So let's get going right away. It is just a wonderful time to be a Hawkeye.
Yes.
The Hawks went to Northwestern, number 20 Northwestern, and just manhandled them, 40-10. And I don't think the term manhandle is overblown.
No, that was Northwestern supposedly had a good team.
Well, think about it. They beat a highly ranked Stanford
Yes.
team. They went to Duke,
Yes.
ranked Duke, and beat Duke. And then Iowa comes into Evanston and just steamrolls them in the second half. It was a close game at halftime.
You know, we must have good lines.
I think so.
I think they're playing very well, actually, in all phases right now. And it takes me back to when we were, the four of us were on this same show last summer, commiserating or discussing how certain people were saying it was time for a coaching change at Iowa. And I think we all agreed, that's one of the most ridiculous thoughts out there for all Kirk and Mary, for example, do beside football.
That's
For the University of Iowa, and I guess I'm one of those people who would just like all those people that wanted him out to take one step forward right now and acknowledge themselves.
Raise their hands.
Yeah, because he didn't all of a sudden forget how to coach in one year, and he didn't pick up new things in a year. But that aside, without being bitter, they're playing unbelievably well.
Did he change coaches?
No.
No,
Assistant coaches?
same
Not
exact
one?
staff.
Not a one.
Not one change
Same
in
exact
coaches. What they changed, and I think we keep talking about this, but I don't know if we talk about it enough. And Earl, you bring it up a lot. The new football facility. It's a difference maker.
That's
and
right.
you might think, how can that help on game day? Well, these guys are all together in one building all day and night. They get their nutrition at the same place. They get their workouts in at the same place. Their practice. They look at video in the same place.
There's a little bit more of a bounce in their step
Yeah.
in the new place, and I do think there was absolutely nothing wrong with Jake Rudock, but I think there's a stronger belief the players have in C.J. Beathard than they did with Jake.
Right.
I agree with you there.
Yep. And like you said, they have a
Stronger
different-
belief as a leader,
Yeah.
That's right.
He's-
not necessarily as a person, because Jake was he was a great person, a great ambassador.
He's leading
with the
Michigan.
University of Iowa. He's doing a great job up at Michigan, and more power to him. But we've got a guy right now, I think you'll all agree, there's been 4 or 5 times in each game when I look at the person next to me and said, Jake Rudock couldn't have done that.
That's right.
And so in that respect, we're doing unbelievably well, and he's doing what they want him to do up at Michigan. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's happy.
At the same time, the way that who's the current
Beathard.
Beathard, he breaks out of there. He gets more yardage.
He's more mobile.
Yes, right.
I think quicker. Just a quicker first
He
step.
made a couple first downs for us.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he's a better passer.
Yeah.
I think his passes are strong,
Boy,
and
that's
NFL-like.
And I heard a couple players talk this week, and at first they didn't like it, but they really like the morning practices now.
Yeah,
I think that makes a difference.
they do like it, and the running backs. The feeling is they're getting, the blocking hasn't really changed any, but they're getting to that hole a split second quicker than they did a year ago, and that makes a big difference.
Boy, does that ever.
Makes a
Big.
They have a play
difference.
that there's all kinds of men ahead of him going around the end.
Well, despite injuries, the offensive line is playing
That's right.
very well. So kudos to Brian Ferentz and
Yes.
Yes, the
and
running
Greg
backs
Davis,
guys.
the
That's right.
offensive coordinator. They're doing an outstanding job.
You notice you don't hear Greg Davis' name brought up nearly as often these days.
Well, as long as you're winning, you won't.
Right. Right. Well, I don't know what you guys thought, but as that game was unfolding in the first half at Northwestern, and Iowa was clinging, if you will, to a 16-10 lead,
Yeah.
and Jordan Canzeri has gone down, our star running back, the guy who just took over this season. I wasn't feeling too good about it. And on top of all that, C.J. Beathard
Yeah.
was limping,
Oh, yes.
visibly limping, in pain, struggling, and clearly not as mobile as we're used to seeing and what we need from him. And I thought, oh boy,
And then
Northwestern's
there's the
got the
two missed
momentum.
kicks.
Missed extra point.
Two missed kicks.
Is
There
Is that
wasn't.
third game in a row he's missed an extra
That's
point?
there was not a lot of. I was at Northwestern. Not a lot of smiles on
Well, you
on
were
the
there?
Iowa people in the press box at
I
halftime.
bet.
But when we held them and went down the field on the first possession
Yes.
for each team, I think then they felt this game is probably well in hand.
Yeah.
I thought I saw the return of the bullies of the Big Ten in the second half Saturday. I saw a 20th ranked Northwestern team give up. Did you see that in the press
Well,
box?
I'm laughing because we're walking down Central Street, right next to
Yeah, sure.
Dyke Stadium there, and this guy who was a Hawkeye fan that was totally inebriated was coming down the street and yelling. I won't use a few of the words he used, but he basically said, "The bullies of the Big Ten are back, so watch out." And he threw a few other words in there, and it was funny. We laughed at it at the time, and I mean, who would have thought, Earl, 25,
Yes, right.
30 years ago, they
Oh,
would have
yes.
called Iowa the bullies of the Big Ten, and
Yeah.
Well, it seems to come in phases.
But you notice early in the game, Northwestern had a few late hits on us. They were trying
Yes.
to smack us in the face
That's right.
early.
That's
Good
right.
point.
And we came right back,
Right.
smacked them in the face, and I think that killed their will
Yeah.
It
right
did.
there.
And somebody who doesn't get a lot of credit, and I'm talking about blocking, Jacob Hillier is a wide receiver. Well, forget his number right now. Is it 18, 17? Yeah. There was a point in the Northwestern game, I believe, in the first half, where he dropped a pass right in his hands. And I thought, come on, Jacob Hillier, you got to do better. And then as I watched the rest of the game, I saw him just unloading on some of these Northwestern linebackers and defensive backs and opening big holes for the running game. He was a main reason that Akram Wadley got the yardage he did. Jacob Hillier just blew up some of those Northwestern defenders, and it was crucial.
And the Iowa fullbacks. You hear nothing about them, and they're
Good point.
Oh,
Phil.
yeah.
they're doing an outstanding job of being the lead blocker. On some
They're
of those.
healthy. They're healthy.
Yeah.
We didn't have either one of them last year, and in hindsight, it kind of shows.
You suppose that the quarterback will be ready to go not this Saturday, but next Saturday?
He was pretty crippled. I mean, boy, that showed me a lot of guts. The way he played Saturday, because he was really hurting. I got to think that he, with at least a week off of at least not moving, at full speed, he should be. I'd be surprised if he's not ready. If he could be ready for Northwestern the way he was,
Yes.
and the way he was feeling, he'll be ready for Maryland.
Well, we got a chance to see the backup quarterback, Wiggers,
Yeah.
come in the fourth quarter. He acquitted himself fine. He needs that Because, guys, I'm going to give all right, we heard the pro side from Phil. I'm going to give the con side. C.J. Beathard's got a groin injury.
Yeah.
And those things don't just heal in a couple weeks. It just takes one little tweak. And we saw it happen against Northwestern. He ran a keeper
Yeah.
to the sideline, and he wasn't hit hard. There was no real sudden motion or stopping or anything, but he came up limping from it. And those groin injuries, I was talking to someone Monday at lunch that we all know and love, and I'm not going to bring his name up, but he's a professional at this stuff. And I point blank asked him, I said, do these groin injuries stay with you for months, if not longer? That's been my experience. And he said, yeah, it can heal, it can feel great, he won't have any pain, and then just one quick stop or one cut, and it aggravates it again. It's going to be painful, I think, for the rest of the season.
He'll be back.
He'll be back, I don't doubt it. But I think the chance for a greater injury is there, and that's my main concern. I hope Wiggers, am I pronouncing his name right? Wiggers.
Now, if we've had a runner run for 200 yards in 2 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that happens in the 3rd straight game and we run like that, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, because as long as he hands it off to the right person
No.
and turns the right direction.
Yes.
You know, if we're able to run like that, well, then you can maybe rest him another game.
That's what he did against Illinois when he got banged up, and
Right.
that's what he did against Northwestern in the second half.
Really? They run the two of them at one time, do you think?
Wadley and Canzeri, it's possible, but I think they have their offensive sets, and
Yeah, okay.
they're pretty well locked into something that's been pretty successful so far this season.
Well, Akram Wadley, our number 4 running back, came off the bench. The number 4 running back, and this is the conversation I was having with a friend who's a Northwestern alum Saturday after. He couldn't believe. He said, who is this guy? Where'd he come from? And I said, he's just our 4th ranked running back. 4th?
Third, isn't he?
No, he was 4th. Derek Mitchell was ahead of him
4th, okay.
because Akram Wadley fumbled. Was it the first game of the season?
Yes.
It was
Early.
his 3rd
Yeah.
fumble
Yeah.
in something like, I want to say 18, and not even that many, 18 runs, dating back to the bowl game. And that's why he was 4th. And I thought, in fact, I said on the show after he fumbled in that game this year, I said, I bet we don't see him again. I just bet we don't. And then what happens? You know, Canzeri goes down. Who am I forgetting? How soon?
Well,
do I forget?
LaShawn Daniels.
LaShawn
Yeah,
Daniels
He wasn't in.
is still banged up with his ankle, and I'm wondering how long it's going to take for Canzeri to overcome this ankle injury. I mean,
Well, and the good thing is, right now, the way Wadley did, until he does something poorly, that question almost becomes a moot point.
I hope so.
So they can go on, but they're doing. The holes are there. They're doing well. They're hanging on to the ball,
Yes.
and if the Hawkeyes can keep doing that. It's the old philosophy, next man in. One of the Chicago writers, you may be familiar with him. He's, of some notoriety, Herb Gould. He's in there. He wrote a long time for the Chicago Tribune, and then he says he was in the press box, and he said, he's number 4, huh? And I says, yeah. And he says, well, he just kind of rolled his head. Maybe we're just not as good as we think we are. He was talking about Northwestern, and Northwestern, I think they are a good team, but they have run into 2 solid teams in a row. Michigan is much
Right.
better than anybody thought they'd be, and obviously we're better than anybody thought we'd be because we were picked solidly in the 2nd division of the Western Division of the Big Ten. So,
No doubt. I predicted we'd be 4-3 at this point.
and now they're talking possibly not the Big Ten championship necessarily, because that's still a stretch for somebody to beat Ohio State, but they're talking about Iowa going to the Fiesta or Rose Bowl.
Right? No matter what, win or
So-
lose in the championship game.
That's pretty good. And the one thing that Kirk and everybody else doesn't want to get ahead of, and neither do we, is we're going to be favored maybe in every game we play for the
Yeah,
rest of the
sure.
year.
Maybe not Nebraska.
And it doesn't mean crap, because just a few years ago, we were 9-0 and we played Northwestern and they beat us pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And
And that can happen anytime. And
Maryland
that
can come in
Indiana
here and
scares
win.
the heck out of me.
What?
at
Indiana, I do too.
Indiana scares. I mean, they can put 50 points on the board without blinking.
They've got a great quarterback and a tremendous running back, big bruiser running back. If they're healthy,
I'm not as worried about Maryland as I definitely am, Indiana and Minnesota. They're just, for some reason or another, a very good team last year, and they just have not put it together this year.
They
They're
look
just
terrible.
not looking well, and Nebraska will always be tough in Lincoln.
absolutely.
That's right.
Now, they just announced that the Maryland game next week will be on at 2:30.
ABC.
ABC game of the week. That means I'm not going to get home in time to answer the door for all the trick-or-treaters that come by.
Just leave it on the doorstep.
That's what I heard.
That is going to cause a problem.
It's my kids. I don't know what they're going to do about going to the game because they, you only have a certain window for trick or treating. I think it's 5 till 8 in Iowa City, and we're not going to get out of there.
How about the
2:30
neighbor across
start.
the street?
Right.
That's. I bet my kids will probably leave before the game is
That's
over.
funny.
I know it.
I'll probably leave a bowl of candy out. That's what we've had to do in the past when I take the kids around. So, but
Speaking of-
2:30 on it's Halloween day. Go ahead.
Speaking of Minnesota, I heard today, is it true that they've sold 28,000 tickets for the wrestling meet?
Oh, I think more than that.
I thought.
You do?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd heard it was somewhere in the neighborhood
40.
of 30.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'd heard. Well, maybe it's a target.
Yeah,
It
and
might
the
be a
game is-
target of 40 or 45,000. That's what they expect.
You're okay.
What we heard a week ago at lunch is that they're selling 500 tickets a day.
Well, and I don't know. We'll have to see what happens if we end up with a day like today. Because if it's raining, that's going to cause a problem, obviously.
And it's going to be season ticket holders only, right?
Yeah.
Who get into Carver Hawkeye.
So,
They'll move it over there then?
yeah.
It will. I mean, unless it's snowing, I think they'll wrestle regardless of the
Oh,
temperature.
yes.
Yeah, and that's what Tom Brands told us at lunch a couple weeks ago. It's got to be a downpour, and it's got to be predicted, unavoidable ahead of time.
They're gonna do everything they can to get that in. But anyway, that that aside, I think everybody will agree with me. I was not surprised we won last Saturday, 40-10. Shocking to me. I mean that did surprise me that we were able to do what we did,
Sure did.
with ease, and for being a little worried at halftime, we owned the second half, and I literally think Northwestern threw in the towel.
They did. I had a bad feeling, I'll be
I
honest.
mean, we could have scored more. Certainly
Oh,
at the
that's
end.
right.
Oh,
That
yeah.
last
we
drive, they
could've
could have
tried.
scored it with
Last drive.
Uyghurs in there.
But now 4 touchdowns he ran in. Is that an Iowa record?
It
ties
ties an Iowa
Ties
record.
Ties one.
Okay.
We're talking about Akram Wadley again, who scored 4 rushing touchdowns, tying the Hawkeye record that had just been tied the week before by Jordan Canzeri. And it leads to some interesting. He rushed for 204 yards against Northwestern on 26 carries with 4 touchdowns. He was awarded the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. That's the 5th time this year in 7 weeks that Iowa has had at least one player.
That's that
That's
really is
impressive.
impressive.
Is that against Ohio State?
I don't know.
What's that?
Is that against Ohio State or just,
I don't know who else has.
Well, I don't know who else has. I'm sure Michigan has a few because they've played so well. But there have been years where we have had very good seasons, and we've gone into like the 10th and 11th week
Yep.
without any players of the week.
yes.
Now, here's something I found interesting. Until that game against Northwestern, Northwestern had given up no rushing yardage of 100 yards.
At halftime.
And in fact, Derek Mitchell,
Almost.
he had 79 yards rushing, and that was the second most yardage they've given up on the ground, the first being our man Akram Wadley. So they had given up next to nothing.
Our coaches saw
rushing.
something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, but
No.
they did an excellent job of, scouting Northwestern.
They're right
And
between the tackles and the yards, it seems to me.
not one person had rushed for over 100 against them.
Nobody. And nobody even had 79. I mean, it was,
How about Michigan? Did they?
they didn't, they.
No.
No.
They did not have a runner. We're not saying the team, we're saying a
No,
rusher.
right.
Right.
But no, they
We had a 200-yarder, and we had the second most yardage also. Our backup running back had the second most yardage this year given up by Northwestern. That's pretty impressive. And this is a team who played, again, Stanford, who, that was the only loss they've had. They went to Duke, got behind, and came back and won. I don't know what happened to their quarterback, because he looked intimidated against Iowa.
Yeah.
He sure did.
He didn't look good. There's only two teams in the country this year that have beaten two top 20 teams on the road. It's Iowa and Alabama.
How about
Is
that?
right?
How about
Yeah,
that?
that's pretty good company.
Right.
Only two
Alabama's
in
in
the
good
country.
company.
Yeah,
Let's say
there
it
you
that
go.
way.
Right.
Only two, the only two schools in the nation with road wins over ranked opponents. Ours were against Wisconsin and Northwestern, and this is the first time that Iowa has done that since 2002, when they went to number 12 Penn State and number 8 Michigan, and manhandled both of them in 2002. That was the Brad Banks year. I don't know who Alabama has beaten, who were ranked on the road. They beat Mississippi. Right?
Beat Mississippi. I'm trying to think. They certainly Georgia, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think it was Georgia on the road.
Yeah, it was. I watched part of that game. Now here's another interesting statistic. Desmond King leads the Big Ten with 6 interceptions, and that puts him second nationally in total interceptions. The last Hawkeye to lead the Big Ten in interceptions, Bud, do you care to guess?
Is he dead? No.
Tyler Sash.
Yeah.
You knew. 2009, and he led the Big Ten in 2009 with 6 interceptions. Desmond King has done this in 7 games.
Could have had a couple others too.
Yeah, he
bounced
did.
around
See,
there.
that's I guess we're early in the season. Things come in, and you kind of refine your game and you find your stride, because early in the year, he didn't look very good.
No.
Fielding kickoffs or punts, he was making some mistakes, and he looks like a player right now that's headed for an early exit to possibly the NFL.
I was just going to bring that up. Now, Pat White said that on our show a couple of weeks ago, and I don't see it. What do you see that might lead him to leave a year early?
Well, his statistics, the fact that he has a nose for the ball, agents will tell him probably, if you go, this is how much you'll get. But I'm told there's a better than 50-50 chance
Oh,
that
boy.
this could be it for him.
I'll be darned.
I hope not.
I hope not, too.
If you remember, Tyler Sash did the same thing.
He did.
Left a year early and
He went to the Super Bowl the
went to
next
the
year.
Super Bowl, and it didn't last very long for him, unfortunately.
No.
And,
Concussions.
he had some, he had a rough go of it, but he did experience
And those
success.
scouts will tell him that.
Yeah.
But another thing that I think's fantastic for your reporter that you talked to from the Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
Out of our 7 games, 3 of them are from Illinois.
By golly, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We own Illinois.
Gotta find another school over there we can play.
Well, did you see Western Illinois went to Northern Iowa and won on Saturday? Western did not have a good record.
Yeah, they're not. Northern Iowa must not be playing well this year.
Apparently
They're
not. I watched parts of that game after the Hawkeye game was over, and I kept thinking Northern Iowa was coming back to win, and then I think I turned it off.
Well, I thought it was kind of odd because I think they have like a 2-4 record, and in their division they're ranked number 13
Yeah,
in the nation.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
See, I know Illinois State beat them.
And Illinois State has been beating everyone since
Yeah,
losing
that's what I mean.
to Iowa.
They have got
Beating
beat by
everyone
some of
badly.
and the Dakota school beat them.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be number one.
Yeah,
You
they're,
know,
they're
what
good.
happened at Illinois with,
Their coach.
Yeah.
He was supposedly making injured players play. He was denying supposedly medical attention to some injured players, falsifying medical records,
He was pressuring the doctors
and that.
was
to
he?
say that they were okay to play.
Yeah.
Whether
Wow.
they were or weren't, he was pressuring them to say they're okay to get out there.
Yeah.
So,
and we
I
haven't
mean-
heard the end of that.
That's, as Bump Elliott said, that's one thing a coach has no business doing is basically telling a doctor this guy needs to play.
Yeah.
Boy,
If they say they can't, you can't.
that's it.
But I heard, speaking of Bump, I heard his name mentioned on
Right.
the Michigan State game. He and several other notable former Michigan head coaches
I know what you're gonna say.
all
Yeah.
lost their first game
Yeah.
as the Michigan
He was the
coach.
top
Is
one.
that
right?
right?
They lost
Yeah.
their first game against Michigan State.
That
That's what
too?
that was. That's what that.
Oh.
That's what
Michigan
they.
State.
Every first year Michigan coach lost their first game to Michigan State.
That's right.
Dating back to Benny Oosterman.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And that's going back a ways, as you
They
guys
brought
know.
that up a couple times.
Did they?
Yeah.
I heard it once. I thought,
Yeah.
I hope Bump's watching this. But he wasn't. Bump was at Notre Dame this weekend.
Oh, was
who
he?
had a big win over Southern Cal. Didn't look like Notre Dame is beat up bad this year. We think we've got injuries. Holy cow. They've lost just about every key offensive position player. Southern Cal, they got their own problems. Holy cow. We talked a little bit about that last week. Their coach is out. Now, who's their interim head coach? Do you know at Southern Cal? Yeah.
The way they like to party out there, maybe it's Rick Pitino.
Apparently, he knows how to throw a party.
Well,
Wow.
How do you know this?
Pitino's in trouble down at Louisville for bringing in paid escorts. That's a fancy term for hookers.
Yeah.
For recruits, they would have the recruits in for the weekend, and these recruits would have big parties held for them in the dormitory. And paid hookers.
I can't believe that didn't get out before it did.
Apparently, the head of the hookers, has written a book. And she's probably going to make a lot of money down there in Kentucky, especially in Lexington. They're going to love to read all
Does
about
that
that.
go for the basketball team too?
That's for basketball,
Oh, not football.
not football.
Okay.
No. Back to Hawkeye football. Here's another little statistic. Hawkeye football is one of 4 schools in the country with 7 victories. The other schools are Ohio State, Texas Christian, and Michigan State. Only Iowa and TCU have 5 wins this season against Power 5 schools. That means teams from the Big 10, the Big 12, Pac-12, SEC, and ACCs. ACC, yeah, ACC is a Power 5.
Aren't,
Those are the 5 power
okay.
conferences.
That's two, okay.
So Iowa and Texas Christian are the only schools to have 5 wins.
And we're the
Power
only
5.
school of those not in the top 10.
Right. Good
So-
point. Good point. Let's see. So we've opened the conference season with wins at number 18 Wisconsin versus Illinois at home and at number 20 Northwestern, and earned 2 wins against Power 5 schools during the non-conference season, Iowa State and Pitt. Now Pitt has entered, are they in the top 25?
They're a good
Getting
team.
close,
Sure.
yeah.
I don't know.
They're right
I
there.
think they are,
I
yeah.
think they are too. Depends on which poll you're looking at, but Pitt has been rolling up victories, and again, the only loss they've had was here at Iowa in that very unforgettable game with the late 57-yard field goal coming with no time on the clock.
Well, the only team that we've beaten that is not having a very good season is Iowa State.
Yeah.
And that went down to the last 3 minutes.
Sure did. That game was up for grabs.
Yeah, and I think he's a good man, Paul Rhodes, but unfortunately, I think this may be his swan song at Iowa State, and that's being perpetuated by the fact that we're 7-0 too.
That's got to kill those Iowa State fans.
Yeah.
And they got to
And
come
they
here
have
next
a
year.
tough schedule.
Oh,
I think they play every Texas school.
And you know, that's the other thing. I guess I get a little upset when people are ripping into our schedule. Well, Iowa hasn't played anybody. Well, number one, we have played somebody, and number two, we played the same schedule basically last year and didn't do worth a darn.
no.
So
And it was more favorable last year. We had the tougher teams at
exactly,
home.
Exactly.
And anytime you can beat Northwestern and Wisconsin
Yeah.
on
On
the
the road.
road, you've done something.
You betcha.
I mean, those were two of the greatest.
You bring that up, though, Phil, and earlier this week, somebody came out with an observation on the schedule of all the top 25 schools. Iowa has a stronger, strength of schedule, a better strength of schedule than Ohio State, than TCU. Just about everybody in the top 10, Iowa's strength of schedule is better, stronger. Now, that'll change as the season goes on.
But up to this point, it is. Their whole point is that we're not playing Michigan, Michigan State, or Ohio State.
That's right.
Right.
That's their
And,
whole story.
I mean, you know, you can look at that two ways. That could be beneficial to them, too. The other side.
That's right.
But they're not playing us.
They're not getting beaten up, you know. Ohio State, well, I don't think they looked that strong, at least not until last Saturday.
They're changing quarterbacks this week. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
Yeah.
Going back to Barrett.
really.
So,
Because what he's been doing is going with one quarterback to start the possession, and then once they get inside the red zone, going with the other quarterback.
the quarterback that has started every game this year,
Uh-huh.
I forgot his name.
Is it Cardell Jones?
Okay, he's going to be number 2 this week, and Barrett, who was responsible for 4 of their 5 touchdowns last week, is going to be their starter.
Who do they play this week? Do you know?
I think
Indy.
Penn State?
State.
No, that's
No,
who they
Indiana,
played
I
last
think.
week.
Last week? Okay,
I think maybe Indiana.
Indiana?
okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that I've seen some advertisement
Yeah.
on the Big Ten Network.
So the Hawkeyes play BYE this week. Bye. It's a bye week.
Couldn't have a better week.
Oh no, man.
Well, and we were thinking we needed it
Yeah,
last
right,
week.
that's
So,
right.
you know, we survived and maybe a little more beat up, but still, it does come at a good time in the season for us. But sometimes there's also the other side of the coin. Do you want to break the momentum you got? So
We've seen what happens coming out of a bye week before, and it hasn't always been pretty.
it takes a little while to get your stride back. And if we came out just on fire,
Phil,
I'd be very pleased, but I'd also be a little surprised.
Yeah.
do you suppose that any thing that has to do with the morning practices?
Yeah,
I do.
I think it's a change. It's something new. It's something that helps put a little more bounce in their steps. See, I think one of the reasons is okay, they get up at 7 o'clock or 7:30 to go to classes. By the time they get to practice, they're in some cases a little mentally and physically drained.
That's right.
Now you can practice. You've got their focus 100%. They go to classes afterwards, and you know, I think it's working out for them. And
And the new building?
new building. This morning I saw they were practicing in the stadium
Is that right?
because it was raining. So
They had them outside.
outside in the stadium.
There was thunder and lightning going on.
Well, when I saw them, you got to remember they're going from 8 to 10.
And it didn't rain until about 10:30, 11.
Yeah, I think they probably got it in
Well,
early because they start early so they can get to their classes. And
in the
I
stadium.
mean, 7-0, you can't argue with the results of anything they've done this year.
That's right.
Nothing. And obviously, everything they're doing now is working, and it's a great feeling to have everything click, whether it's the new practice times, the new facility, the renewed, I think too, and Kirk has admitted it, he's made a renewed commitment to focus only on football. There's a reason that there are no more Friday morning before home game pep
That's right.
rallies and breakfasts. where Kirk would come to speak and say the same thing. Let's face it,
Yeah.
he said the same thing every Friday.
You don't have to change them.
Yeah, yeah. About the only highlight was whoever would give the convocation before
Yeah.
the breakfast. You know, sometimes they would be
Or the
entertaining.
first breakfast and the last one.
the,
when you had
the
the
freshmen
senior-
and the seniors.
Yeah.
That was always good.
It was always good, but I was glad.
And people were upset. Let's be honest. People were upset when Kirk said, well, when the football office
That's
announced
when
that he wouldn't
everyone
be doing
was
it.
jabbing Kurt, though. They were all jabbing Kurt. I never heard Kurt.
And that was what? That was just late this summer, right? When they,
Yeah.
Was it late summer?
Late some, yeah.
I know a lot of people on the Johnson County I Club
Oh, I
board
do
were
too.
upset because they raise a lot of money through these breakfast meetings for the football program.
Well, I don't know if they do or not.
Oh, they do.
At one time, you pay all that band that comes in, you
They
pay
don't
all
pay the
those.
band.
They buy their breakfast, and we have to pay it.
Oh, that's not,
That doesn't cost nothing to feed
It
them.
sure did. They never made money off the breakfast.
Is that right?
Yep.
I'll be darned. Well, I went to it like all of you guys for years, and golly, after a while,
yeah,
you know, Kirk just didn't have much new to say.
after 16 years.
Hayden, you know, when Hayden was doing it, it would be more entertaining.
Yeah.
Because he's Hayden, you know. And I guess Hayden was back in town this weekend.
I didn't see him. Somebody said they saw him at the hospital.
Yep, he had a checkup at the hospital, and he was back in town. You know, there was a petition underway to get him to go to Northwestern for the game. They had Gary Barnett there and the 1995 Rose Bowl
Yeah,
team
uh-huh.
celebrating their.
He'd have loved it.
I would have loved it if he would have walked over there at halftime or after the game and said, "I hope we didn't hurt any of your boys too bad."
That was his comment.
That's what got Barnett upset. That's still what sticks in the craw of Pat Fitzgerald, the Northwestern coach, who was on that 95 team and got his leg broken in the Iowa game that year, which Northwestern won. But that prevented him from playing in the Rose Bowl and knocked him out the rest of the season. And he's had a chip on his shoulder ever since then for Iowa. And it's no mistake, it's no secret that he really views Iowa as his number one rival. There's nobody that Northwestern coach Fitzgerald would rather beat than the Hawkeyes. And quite frankly, it gave me great pleasure to see them get their lunch handed to them Saturday.
You could go along.
By the bullies of the Big
The
Ten.
bullies of the Big Ten are back. They beat up a ranked opponent in Northwestern on their home field. And I'll say it again, I did not have a good feeling going into this game. I thought BJ's hurt, and I don't know, we had too many guys hurt, I thought, to be confident.
Well, and then it was their homecoming.
Right.
It was
95 team.
activities going on. You thought
Yeah.
they were really.
And the thing that's even more impressive, I think, about the team even more than the record is they have not been without mistakes and things that have gone against them, and this team has been able to overcome.
Good point, Phil.
Yeah.
That's a real
You
good
know,
point.
we've made a lot of mistakes. We've made a lot of missed kicks. We've made a lot of drop passes. And there's been some fumbles at ill-advised times, so it's not as though we've had clear sailing.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
they've
we've
overcome
overcome.
it. That's
Yeah.
the key. And that's what champions do. They overcome these mistakes and these mental errors. They don't let it bog them down. And it wouldn't have surprised me to see this Hawkeye team come out of the locker room at halftime, second half, and not have that spark
Yeah.
because the momentum was not going their way at the end of that first half.
You say that we might get our lumps after the open date.
Well, we come out flat often, and a lot of, not just
Well,
Iowa.
I don't think that Maryland can do that to anybody.
I don't either. I agree.
Well, they've lost their coach.
Yeah.
They've had a tough go of it this year, but it's still
Do we know who their interim coach is?
it's
We do.
one of the assistants.
Loxley, isn't it?
Could be.
Who used to be the big recruiter at Illinois for, what was his name?
Zook.
Zucker.
Zucker.
That's who it is. It's Loxley. I think that's his name. Loxley. He left Illinois to go to, was it New Mexico? It's either New Mexico or New Mexico State to be their head coach. And that did not work out well for him or them.
But
But it also didn't work out well for Zook, because this is the guy who brought in these recruits that we couldn't believe Zook was getting at Illinois. And they were difference makers. He had some really good, talented teams there at Illinois that more often than not, Zook would screw up with coaching. And that's who's their interim head coach. What did the Maryland head coach do to lose his job so early in the Big Ten season? Besides lose, wasn't there something?
Well, no, I think primarily not just losing, but losing badly.
Badly.
You know, and
That's right.
yeah, and I don't think showing any signs of positive.
Yeah.
There may have been some other things, but I don't think there was anything as far as any irregularities in the program other than losing.
Okay. And
He's considered a pretty good coach, you know. He came from
what's his name?
Edsel,
Edsel.
Randy Edsel.
Randall Edsel.
I mean, they beat us up pretty good last year in
They
Maryland.
did.
It ended up being a close game, but they were up like 3 touchdowns late in the game before we scored a couple late.
we went ahead 14-0.
Were you at that game?
I was.
We made it close last year at Maryland. I thought they beat the tar out of us.
No,
No,
we made
no.
it within a touchdown at the
We
end.
should have come back, yeah. But
Is that the game?
we went ahead and got 2 quick.
Did Beathard come in and play off the bench that game? Didn't he? Is that one of the
He
games?
played, but I don't know how much.
Yeah, not much.
No.
I didn't think he played much.
Okay.
He made a bad score.
Edsel.
That was a big win for them last year.
Oh yeah.
But you know, another thing I think's helping our team, these kids are playing like kids. They all seem to get together and pat each other on the, they're playing more like a high school team.
It's
a
not
team.
work, it's fun.
Huh?
It's not work for them, it's fun.
That's right. There you go.
Of
course-
That's up to the quarterback.
You know what?
Yeah,
A lot of
that's
that's, when you're 7-0, things become more fun than when you're 2-5 or
Ain't that the
something like
truth?
that.
I
Well-
put on our show, when we were picking,
Yeah.
that we'd go 9-3.
You did that?
Yeah.
That's
You
surprising.
did too. On another show.
did you?
I might,
Is that
I
you?
might have. But, it's what they always say, success has a million parents, defeat and adversity is an orphan.
Orphan.
Yeah. And so everybody, is behind the Hawkeyes right now, and it's the same coaching staff as last year. They've tweaked a few things, but they didn't just learn how to coach.
No.
And,
But I think they've made a renewed commitment and focus on coaching that maybe got lost or astray last year. Things didn't work out the way they should have last year. There were a lot of
I hate the hospital.
bad turns. Yeah, and
well, and people, one reason they were upset is it's probably going to be a long time before we have what's deemed as easy a schedule as this.
who's back on the schedule next year? Ohio State?
Well, you know what? I'm not positive, but I think most of the guys are back on. You guys can talk here, and I'll look in my billfold, and
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly who's on.
I know at least one of the Michigan schools is back on. I'm pretty sure Ohio State's back on. And more importantly, we rotate out with Maryland and Indiana.
Well, we've got Penn State and Michigan are the only additions next year.
Oh, okay. And then the year after that, I think Ohio State's
Well,
back.
it'd be 2 years.
2 years.
Well,
Yeah, but we also pick up Rutgers
Oh,
next year. We start out at home with Miami of Ohio,
yeah.
Iowa State, and North Dakota State, who's the #1 team in the country in their division.
I don't like that game.
No.
Don't like that game at all.
Then we're at Rutgers, and then Northwestern, at Minnesota, at Purdue, Wisconsin at home, at
Purdue's
Penn
back.
State, Michigan at home. It's not a bad schedule next year either.
I like Michigan at home.
Yeah, at Illinois, and then Nebraska at home.
That ain't bad.
And Michigan's on there, that's good.
Yeah.
Michigan's on there.
They're a pushover.
Joe, how we doing on time here, buddy? Oh, Joe's on the phone. How we doing on time, Joe?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay.
That's not too bad of a schedule, though.
No,
That's
I mean,
not
it's
too
bad,
bad.
don't
Could be
get
a
me
lot
wrong,
worse.
but-
stronger than this year.
Penn State and Michigan.
I'm going to be, I'm not pulling away from the Hawkeyes here, but I'll be fascinated to see how the Michigan-Ohio State game is this year.
Yeah. Where is
Because
it played?
I think it's going to be at Michigan. I think. I'm not positive
I think
on
you're
that.
right too.
But still, it's that'll be. I think they're a pretty decent team, Michigan, this year.
All right, let's talk about the Michigan State game for a second. Now, okay, guys, I was busy watching stuff and I was getting ready to go out, and I watched that game right up until the point the Michigan punter lined up to receive the snap, and I went and took a shower. And I get out of the shower, and they got D'Antonio on there talking, praising God for delivering victory to the Spartans. I'm going, no, wait a minute. This must be, videotape from last week or
This is-
something.
Well, we actually had eaten after the Iowa game at Northwestern.
Yeah.
On our way home, and I'm listening, or I'm looking on my radio or my phone at the time, and it says 10 seconds left, and they're behind by whatever it was, 3, and we pull into the Oasis.
Yeah.
On
DeKalb.
Yeah, DeKalb, and all of a sudden, because I'm 4 people, which Iowa fans, just like us coming home, jump out of their car. Michigan State just won, and I said, "What are you talking about?" And then they told me what exactly happened, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like it.
I've seen it over and over and over.
Yeah.
That
That
definitely
ball
was,
had to hit that guy just right for it to
well,
bounce.
I mean, you hate to say it, but that definitely was divine
Yes.
intervention.
Yeah, right.
If you're a Michigan State fan, it was divine. If you're a Michigan fan, it was obscene. And the look on the faces of
that's
the
another
Michigan
thing.
fans
Right.
in Ann Arbor. That stuff just doesn't
Look at
happen there.
The face of the coach.
Oh, Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just stunning. And now, of course, this poor punter for Michigan who comes to this is his one and only year at Michigan. He's one of these graduate transfers like Jake Rudock, who come in for 1 year after they finish their undergraduate degree, and I forget, he played at some small college here but he's from
I don't know anything
Australia.
about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he went to, I want to say, Bethune-Cookman or some small college, and for whatever reason, he's doing graduate work at Michigan, and they struggled with their kicking game last year, horribly. So they got this kid from Australia who does rugby-style kicking, and earlier in the game, if you remember, he had an 80-yard punt that backed Michigan State way up, right against the goal line. And I mean, he was jumping up and down, getting high fives from all of his teammates. Coaches loved him. And then just a mere hour or two later, he's vilified by the Michigan fans. He's had death threats. Which, I was thinking, if that were the case, if that had happened here at Iowa, I can't see an Iowa fan sending death threats
I
to
don't
our
either.
That's
punter.
ridiculous.
I mean, that's
But
Michigan.
not
for
only
you.
that, if they get him on the 50-yard line and he'd go to punt, he could keep that ball in without going into the end zone.
Well, and he
Every
hasn't
time
played
he-
enough American football to know. Okay, he muffs the snap.
Yeah.
Fall on
That's
it.
right.
Fall on it. He hasn't played enough to know. There's just certain instincts that kids that have grown up playing the game know. Okay, I snapped this. The clock's about to run out. If I just fall on it, it's going to be okay. The only thing he could have done to jeopardize the game is what he did.
Well, in Mike Golick on Mike and Mike in the morning,
Yeah.
he says, first of all, let me start out by saying kickers aren't football players.
Really?
Yeah, he said kickers aren't football players. They don't go through what the normal football player goes through, so he doesn't know what's going on,
Huh?
So, it's too bad what he went through, but
He'll be
I still
back
say there's a
kicking.
little divine intervention right there.
Had to be.
And I guess I'm one of those guys whenever Michigan loses.
I feel pretty good about it.
I said, when I heard that at the Oasis, I says, this has been a perfect day.
Yeah.
So,
It reminds you of Hayden Fry winning 12-10.
yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that was 30 years ago, Monday. The kick, 1985. I forget what the date was now. The 19th. October 19th of this week, Monday, was the 30-year anniversary of the kick. Hayden Fry sent out Rob Houtland, who scored the only points in the game for the Hawkeyes that day.
4 field goals.
And he missed one. And I watched a replay of the game this week, and I'd forgotten that there was a touchdown for Iowa,
Scott
touchdown
Halverson.
pass. Helverson caught it in the end zone.
Oh, yes.
And replays showed he clearly kept both feet in bounds as he was going out in the end of the end zone, but they didn't have
Didn't have
reviews.
replays then.
Yeah, and it didn't count. But we got a field goal out of it. But it would have changed how the game ended
But we won.
30 years ago.
Yeah. Now, he's a notable NFL official now.
Rob Houtland?
No, Scott Halverson.
Oh, Scott Helverson. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. What's Rob Houtland doing?
He's in Michigan, lives in Michigan.
Is that right?
And I'm not sure what he is doing, but at one time he was involved in a ministry, I think.
Huh.
He's a religious guy.
Yeah.
Of all the states to end up in, he ends
Yeah.
up in Michigan. Well, that was a monumental day, and I think it's safe to say that all four of us were in attendance at Kinnick. It's hard to believe. It's
He
been
came
30
in the store to
years.
see me after that kick.
Yeah?
Oh, was he happy? I said, sit down. He said,
He wanted a discount on a new suit.
He gave it to him too.
Yeah, you bet.
That's good.
You bet. Well, that was a heck of a day. We've got a little bit of time left. We're going to talk about high school football. Switching
care.
gears, we got to talk about the Regina Xavier game last Friday night, a game which Regina led at halftime, 35-7. Regina, number 1 ranked, undefeated, had scored on all 5 of their possessions in the first half, and in the second half, everything changed. Xavier scored 28 unanswered points, including a 35-yard field goal with 3 seconds left to win the game. It was a tale of two halves. It was a tale of two very talented teams. Xavier, the 3A, I don't know what they're ranked this week, if they're still number 3.
3 they are.
Yeah, undefeated. Just an incredible game. I will say that at halftime, I was working the concession stands, and at halftime, I felt really sorry for all the Xavier people. And more importantly, it was a very cold and windy night. Over half the crowd left. There were over 3,000 people there at the beginning of the game. Over half of them left. Anybody with little kids, they left.
Yeah.
It was just too cold. The game was over. And I'll be darned if the unbelievable didn't happen. And you know, my son's he's a freshman on the team, and he got to dress for that game. And he told me after the game that Marv Cook didn't yell, none of the coaches screamed or said rude things, no swearing. Marv just told them that he was proud of them, each and every one of them, that they did their best, and that this game does not define them, but what they do after this game is what will define them.
That's right.
They go to Pella Christian this Friday for the last regular season game. Pella Christian's 6-2 this year, and this game will decide the district championship for both teams.
Is anybody hurt?
Well, Nick Phillips, the star of the Regal running game, got banged up in the first half. He had 200 and some yards rushing in the first half. In the second half, and I think I got these numbers right, he had 6 yards rushing.
Oh, boy.
That wasn't everything, though. I thought Xavier coaches called a brilliant game. They came up with some play calls late in that game that fooled.
But you know, I watched the Xavier Solon game.
Yeah.
They beat Solon 7-10 points somewhere in there.
Where was that game?
That was at Solon. And they threw the ball. Now Xavier did not, I don't know what they were trying to. I really thought going into that game that they'd throw the ball all night long. And this is what they did the second half. They got 2 of those touchdowns within,
They just gouged
Yeah.
big holes up the middle.
Right.
They were not any trick. The last play of the game was a brilliant call. They were probably at their right around midfield, just across
Right.
midfield, and there's hardly any time left on the clock. The quarterback in shotgun formation fakes a handoff to his right. The either fullback, I think it was a halfback, acts as if the lateral was mishandled and thrown high, and he jumps in the air looking for it. the entire Regina defense goes with him, while the fullback gets a little sneaky handoff. And he busts up that line. He goes for about 25, 30 yards. He gets it all the way to the 18-yard line. And they were lucky he didn't run it all the way in right then and there. It was some really good game-saving tackles that brought him down out of bounds with 3 seconds left. So it was a lot like that Solon game last year.
Yeah, there we go.
Were just a lot of fluky, freaky things. But I'm telling you what, watching that game live and that play call, I thought,
Was it tied up till?
yeah, it was tied up.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: Regina had the ball with 3 minutes to go, tied up, and they marched down the field to the 21-yard line and were well within distance of their field goal kicker, Emilio Tovar, well within his range. And the quarterback just had it sailed on him. As soon as it left his hands, I thought, uh-oh. You could just see it. The ball sailed on him. It just took off. It was so windy and cold out there. And it went well over the Regina receiver's head, right into a defender's hand in the end zone. And he returned it about 40 or 50 yards. He had a very impressive return. And
But the big thing is, Regina did not score a touchdown the second
No,
half.
scored
and that's
nothing.
unheard of.
Zero.
Nothing, right.
zero.
They were just
30,
outplayed.
35 points.
Yeah.
I give credit to Xavier and
I
the
do,
coaches.
too.
They did not give up. That game, I mean, it couldn't have been more one-sided in the first half.
But our running guy was out of there the second half, so I mean,
Yeah. We'll see what happens at Pella Christian. I kind of feel sorry for Pella Christian. I think they're in for a
I don't know about
I
that.
think they're in for a beating. I think there's going to be some upset seniors on that Regina team that wanted to go out undefeated and lost that opportunity last Friday
But
night.
the last couple of years, they've been defeated, so maybe sometimes that does.
Just
better.
last year.
Yeah.
just
that's what I
last
mean,
year.
2 years. But,
That was the first home loss for Regina in 6 years. Think of that.
That's not a bad record.
Not at all.
no, and what did you think
About?
when they come into that game? What did you think?
I thought it'd be a close game.
I did. I thought we could beat right off the go.
I had a Xavier
They have
friend
not
of mine
lost.
say this is not a great Xavier team.
I think it is.
I
They
had,
haven't lost.
I had young Jimbo Jensen wanted to bet me $1 that Regina would lose by 30 points or more. And I said, I'll take that.
Well, I
bet.
wouldn't go, yeah,
At
I'd take
halftime,
that
it was
much.
35 to
35 to 7. And I
Yeah.
saw his dad. I said, Jimbo wanted to bet me. And he said, oh, don't listen to him.
His grandson missed a good chance to put us ahead.
Did he?
That pass he dropped.
I
He
don't
was
remember.
wide open.
I didn't get to see hardly any of the game until the last 3
Oh, you were
minutes.
still on
I was
popcorn.
working in concession. And the TV didn't work. The monitor didn't work in the concession stand, and we were busy. There were a lot of people.
But the one I thought played a good ball game, and look out for him in the tournament, is City High.
City High lost.
They went against, they lost, but
Yep.
they went against
Number 6,
Washington and
Cedar Rapids Wash.
Yeah.
Wash has only lost one game this year, and who was it? Was it
Kennedy.
Prairie or Kennedy? You're right, Earl.
Yeah.
That's who it was. Cedar Rapids has got a lot of good football this year. City High lost 39 to 20, and now they go to Muscatine, and I couldn't find out
Muscatine's
how
good.
good they are.
Muscatine's good.
Are they? Well, this is a big game. City High's in the postseason no matter what. They're going to be in.
I think both City High and West.
They are too. The thing is, if either of them win, now West High, they have a record of 3-5, but they are 3-0 in district. City High's 3-1 in district. We're out of time. Holy cow, it goes fast. West High has to go to Pleasant Valley, which is very good. 6-2, 3-0. The winner of that game wins the district title. We didn't have time to talk about Major League Baseball. The playoffs are fun.
Thank God.
One thing. C.J. Beathard is on the Big Ten Network tonight at 9:30 on The Journey. The Journey is
Yes.
going to feature C.J. Beathard tonight at 9:30. On behalf of our good friend Phil Haddy, Bud Supple, and Earl Murphy, I'm Derek Keller, thanking you for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And we want to send out get well wishes to Jerry Strom. Heard you're recuperating from knee replacement. You're going to be fit as a fiddle real soon, Jerry. Appreciate you watching, and we'll get you back on Sports Opinion real soon. On behalf of everybody here, we want to remind you that it's a bye week for the Hawkeyes. We'll see you next week with a brand new show of Sports Opinion. Go Hawks!